to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And today we're going to talk about something that actually relates a little bit, not more than a little bit, to my most recent book, to Don't Fake the Funk. Our guest this week is someone I went to school with, and he and I have been connected on Facebook, et cetera. And I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, we were messaging back and forth. And, there was a lot of things. We had lost touch with each other for several years in between basically high school and got connected on Facebook probably, 6-7 years ago. There's a big gap in there. Well, we're messaging back and forth one evening, and I'm like, he's filling in some of the gap for me. And I'm like, holy crap. He's super successful now. He's been through all sorts of trials and tribulations. I'm like, man, I got to have you on the show. People got to hear the story, because life isn't always perfect. Life's going to kick you. It's going to knock you down. You're going to get kicked in the shin, slugged in the stomach, but you got to keep getting back up. And Jeff is a person who is a prime example of someone who kept getting up. And look at him now. The pride of Mingo Junction, Jeff Wolfe. Jeff, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Hey, Mr. Biz. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So let's dive into that. Let's walk through this journey, because again, you've had so many different ways that life is just giving you the business,
No pun intended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's everybody has their challenges in life. I'm no different. I don't think I'm a special case in any way. It's just one of those things. You have things that happen to you. You got to look at it like, okay, am I going to use this as a millstone and drag me down, or a stepping stone? And at one point or another, you're going to have to realize for each individual person which way you want to take it. We went to high school together. That was a lot of good memories. We had a small school. I think my class graduated 68.
Really?
So small school, small classes, but it was great because we were all very close. And I mean, even though we had been away for so many years, it was almost like it was, last week since the last time I've seen you in high school, but
yeah.
I graduated high school, barely made it through. As you could probably remember, I didn't care much about school or class work or anything. I always knew I was going to go into the Marine Corps. That was going to be my career, and I didn't have to be a rocket scientist to be in the Marine Corps or get a great score. I went into the Marine Corps as planned right after high school. That things got a little twisted there. I was doing an obstacle course where I had fallen 3 stories and broke my back. So my career choice there was kind of messed up, because I found myself a year and a half later out of the Marine Corps. And in fact, I was homeless, as I couldn't walk very well, and I couldn't do daily things like, just standing up, running a cash register or anything.
Right.
So that was a big challenge.
Well, I can't imagine, like, especially at that age. I mean, breaking your back's not good at any age, of course, but to be that young and, on top of the world and physically, ready to kick the world's butt, and then to break your back. And then, here you are, you wanted to go in the Marines, you go in the Marines and you break your back. And then, like you said, you're out and you're like, crap, what job can I get, with the physical limitations?
Yeah. What am I going to do now? Literally living in the woods behind my parents' house. My grandfather passed while I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't have anywhere to go. So it was one of those times where it was trying, not going to lie. That's definitely a hard thing to go through. And you have doubts about yourself. I didn't know which direction to go, because as I mentioned, that was my career choice. All of a sudden I had to rethink everything. So it's just kind of one of those self checks. I look back and, look in the mirror and said, what kind of person are you going to be here? And after feeling sorry for myself for a little while, I decided that wasn't the path for me, you know. So I started with different jobs. Once I'd get better, I'd have times where I was able to walk, and I'd be able to do things fairly well for some time, and then I'd have some setbacks, and I still do. But I'm not going to let it hold me back. I only got one life, and I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm going to live it. Every time I golf, and I think, oh my goodness, is this the last swing I'm going to make? Because my friend's going to have to pick me up and put me in the golf cart and take me back, but I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm still going to go and take care of what I need to do, and I'm going to live my life.
Well, yeah. And again, the back as a whole, again, no injuries are great, but like if you break your arm's going to heal. And how often does someone break their arm and then have long-term impacts from breaking their arm or breaking your leg? It's a terrible thing, but most of the time you're going to heal up and you're going to be all right, especially at that young of an age. You break your back, holy crap. I mean, there was one time from lifting that I had messed my back up a little bit, just super minor in the long-term string of things. But, I remember just, you couldn't get comfortable. You can't sleep. I'm sitting there, and just raising your arm hurts your back. Raise your leg, it hurts your back. You twist your head, it hurts your back. Like there's nothing. Like I was so frustrated. I can't imagine having to go through that, especially when you're like, I'm going to be a Marine, and then all of a sudden that gets completely derailed. And having to battle through that and figure out what the heck was next.
It was a struggle. I wanted to wrestle in the Olympics, and I had those kind of ideas in my head, and in a flash of an eye, it was gone. So, rebooting, I took different jobs, learned different things. I wasn't a very studious person, as you remember, not very book smart. I don't, it's not my thing exactly. So I'm a person that learns by watching things. But that's a key to everything, I believe. I mean, if you can watch something and you can learn something from it, you're going to make mistakes, but you learn from those mistakes. And if you can do that, eventually you're going to forge yourself something that's pretty solid, and you're going to have a direction to go in one way or another. So I got into sales. I sold some home improvements for a while. I got into some car sales, and that was a different industry. There's a long hours, and so I went back to the home improvement sales, and I was fortunate enough that I was going to different places where I was learning from older guys that were in the industry for years.
Yeah.
And I think that's what our system's now missing, is those old guys and the old school teachings. But I was fortunate enough to catch the end of that. And those guys were right there for me. And I learned so much from those guys. It's a lifetime of knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I don't remember you being on the honor roll, but I will say this. I do remember as you someone who a frequent guest of the show, Paul Rockwell, says you are GSD. You get shit done. So I remember that about you. So again, this week, guys, we're talking with Mr. Jeff Wolfe. We're going to hit a break here. We'll come back. We'll give Mr. Biz tip of the week. We'll continue talking through his journey. You got a whole bunch more to hear about this.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Are you ready to automate your business? Automation is the key to scaling a business and building wealth. It's also one of the most difficult things for a small business owner to do on their own. If you're looking for help with automation, Pulse Technology CRM can help. We have an exclusive offer for Mr. Biz Nation. We will build everything for free, even if it's a sophisticated funnel. Visit thepulsespot.com/Mr. Biz for this exclusive offer.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. It is time, as we always do at the top of the second segment, is the Mr. Biz tip of the week. This tip this week is start with yes. Start with yes. It's a mindset. And when I say start with yes, I mean with ideas. I mean with your customers. I mean with employees. When someone's got a new idea, a customer comes to you. Customers are not always right, not like the cliche. However, I would challenge you to really think about that. And when a customer comes to you, maybe they have an idea and they go, gosh, have you guys ever thought about doing this? Don't start with how it won't work. Figure out how it can. Now, maybe how it can work is not feasible. That's fine. Your employees come to you with a new idea. Don't be that guy or that girl that's like, oh, we can't do that because, or oh, we've never done it that way. You got to start with yes. Think of how it can work, not how it can't work. And again, sometimes when you figure out how it can, what the requirements are for that are not feasible for your business. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe it's going to take too many resources, et cetera. But at least consider it. If you never consider it, you will never consider new ideas. You'll be stuck. And eventually that's going to catch up with you in business. There's no doubt about that. So that is the Mr. Biz tip of the week. All right, Jeff. So we got through, you're learning some home service. And by the way, I agree with you 100%. I was interviewed about 10 days ago on a show, and I think that's a huge problem right now in the country, is that we have a whole generation of people who were raised that if you want to be successful, you have to go to college. Right. And the trades just got dumped in the crapper, like, oh, you don't want to do that, and which is BS. I told my brother, my brother's 8 years younger than me, and I told him, he told me he was going to school his first semester in college and he was not doing well. And he was like, I don't like school like you. I go, I don't like school. I study so I don't have to take classes over again. The last thing I want to do is take class twice, right? But I told him, I said, drop out of school, learn a trade, go work for someone, follow the owner around like a puppy dog for 5 years, leave and start your own. And 10 years later, you could be running your own show. You could not go back out in the field if you don't want. You can go back out in the field as much as you want, as less you want. Can be super successful doing that. And I think that whole generation of people about, you have to go to college crap is just not true. And we're seeing the impacts of that as these baby boomers who are in the trades are retiring and tapping out, especially with the pandemic. I know myself, I ran into a lot of people that, these guys are, in their 60s and they're like, man, I've been doing this for 40 years. I was thinking about sticking around for another 2 or 3 years. A pandemic, just forget it. I'm just going to tap out now, and so I think that accelerated a lot of that. So I agree with you 100%. So it's fortunate for you. You were able to tap into some of that knowledge base, before we started having this exodus of all these baby boomers out of the trades. But so where'd you go from there?
Yeah, I was very lucky to be able to learn from all these guys, and it's one of the things when I interview salesmen now, I tell them I'm going to teach you something that you would never learn in college and something you'll have with you for the rest of your life. You will always be able to make money with what I can teach you. And, so I worked for several different companies over the years doing different things. Worked for a place in Columbus, Ohio, doing what I'm doing now. I got out of that industry, actually started in a different home improvement industry. And I ran an office for a national company down here in Charlotte. And it was one of those things where I just I liked doing what I was doing, but I didn't like the big corporate world where, hey, we don't care about you. We don't care about your staff. We don't even care about your customers. What's the bottom line? So, I was making good money and I was having success and we were hitting records every month, but it was never enough. So I almost felt like I was selling my soul to the devil. So I was miserable with it. My wife and I started talking about different things and I was like, why don't I try something out on my own? I'm not going to do the same thing I'm doing now, but I learned a trade when I was in Columbus, Ohio, and that's what I'm doing now. And I know the ins and outs of the business, the sales side of I can take care of that. So we basically started from scratch with a waterproofing business here in the Charlotte area. And every year it just grows and grows and grows. And I think the best part of it is all of my customers know that I'm going to do the right thing. We don't take advantage of anybody. I don't have crazy margins. We are in business to make money.
Sure.
So, everybody's getting paid, but all of my employees, they can take whatever time they need off. Obviously I want to advance notice, but you come here to make money for you to live your life. I'm not shackling anybody. I want you to come here and I want you to be successful. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of these businesses today are missing. I feel like we should go back to doing stuff like that. I didn't know if it would work at first, honestly, because I was in that corporate world where, everything had to be done by the book and you had to do it this way or it isn't going to work. And that's not true.
Yeah. Well, so I talk about this with my clients all the time and I agree with you 100% once again, I think that's missing. I think that's been pushed aside as well over the last, 20 years or so, is that too many business owners treat their employees like commodities.
Yeah.
And man, Jeff, like when you find a rock star employee, you got to treat them right because they are so freaking difficult to replace. If you got someone who's got your culture, your work ethic, your morals, your character that you want portrayed in your business, man, that person is
priceless.
Super invaluable. Like you got to hold on to those people. And so, and the other thing that helps you when you're growing and the business is growing and you're trying to hire people, especially over the last few years, it's becoming increasingly difficult. The labor pool just seems to be somehow shrinking. I'm not sure how that is when the population is going up, but nonetheless, whole nother topic there. But, if people in your industry, if you treat employees even just a little bit better than all the rest, you're going to be the employer of choice. So when you have a job opening, people are going to be knocking your door down because people in the trades talk. They all talk. They see each other at job sites, et cetera. And they're like, hey, man, we get this and we get a bonus and we get all the time off we want. We get this. Holy crap, you get that? I don't get any of that crap. Like, do you have any openings? You know what I mean? So making yourself an employer of choice is huge, huge. And especially as you grow and expand.
And that's the difficult. I mean, that's the biggest thing about being successful in a business is surrounding yourself with people who are going to do the job and want to take pride in their work and are committed to being successful as well. My foreman's been with me for 7 or 8 years now. He makes probably 3 times what he'd make anywhere else. I see the value in him. I don't want to go looking for another guy like that guy. Nobody works like he does. He has the option to work Saturdays or not. I'm like, you want to work it? Fine. If not, I don't care. You're on your own time schedule. Last year he missed 2 Saturdays.
Oh, geez.
He's a beast. I mean, he's a
little
guy from Guatemala, man. He come up here and he's seen the American dream and he just went for it, and I'm more than happy to pay him because he is worth his weight in gold.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And obviously I'm sure he appreciates he's been with you that long. There's a lot of transient workers in the trades. So, having someone that's a foreman and been with you that long, obviously you're treating him well and he appreciates working in the business and whatnot. But all right, guys, again, we're talking with one of Mingo Junction's finest, Jeff Wolfe. We're going to hit a break here. We're going to come back and we're going to get some tips from Jeff on how to overcome obstacles in life.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Business owners have a continually growing to-do list with little time for revenue-producing activities. With Check Off Your List and their experienced team of virtual assistants, you can focus on growing your business. Visit checkoffyourlist.com to learn how Check Off Your List skilled team can handle your day-to-day tasks like social media, bookkeeping, calendar maintenance, and much more. Contact Check Off Your List at checkoffyourlist.com or call 888-262-1249 to see how their virtual assistants can help you live to work rather than work to live.
Check out all three of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. So, we've heard about a lot of the trials and tribulations that Jeff's gone through in his life, in his career, how he's overcome some of those. So I thought it would be a really good thing for us to hear some of the ways that he has developed for himself to overcome those things, right? Again, because as I mentioned at the outset, life's going to kick you and knock you down. It's just going to happen. I mean, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how pretty you are, how well educated or not educated. It doesn't matter. Fat, skinny, purple, blue, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. So what I look at, and I've been asked this question many times, what is the one thing that separates successful entrepreneurs from those that are either aren't nearly successful or aren't successful at all and fail? And that is, I call it consistent perseverance. It's continuing to get up because you're going to get knocked down. Not every decision you make is going to be the right one. Jeff's had some things outside of his control. And by the way, I do want to throw this in here because I want to make sure we don't get through the show without mentioning this, Jeff. There's one other thing that I know that Jeff is really good at, and that's making a family, because he has, at last count, 114 kids. So maybe I'm exaggerating just a little, but so he's at, there's challenges there too, right? He's building a business and, he's got kids to worry about. He's got, a big family and everything. And there's, as everyone knows, if anyone of you guys have kids, that's a challenge as well. So Jeff, what are some of those things that you found over the years that really helped you, overcome those inevitable challenges in life?
Having a nice solid relationship with my wife helps a lot. We have 8 children and 1 on the way. And, I've been very blessed in that department, but I agree with what you said earlier about not giving up and always going after it. Maybe it's a pride thing, but I refuse to let somebody beat me down. You can take your lumps, but it's how you take those lumps and just come back at it. And most importantly, learn from it. If you learn from mistakes that you made or something that you did that wasn't correct, or maybe you treated or didn't do something right by a customer, you learn from that. If you can keep learning from these different things, less bad things are going to happen to you. That's just the biggest key, I think, is just learning from your mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to make the same mistake twice, as they say, right? I mean, that's just going to inevitably delay your success, right? If you keep making the same mistake. So, and you know what? That seems so obvious, Jeff, but I think, again, there's still a decent percentage of people who don't realize that because their pride or their ego or whatever is just too big. And so they're one of these people, right? And it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. It's this person or that person or the weather or the economy or the government or this. Instead of taking, responsibility for everything around you to create success and say, you know what? Yeah, I got nailed because, I have an outdoor business and the weather killed me. But how can I learn from that? Right? I can plan around the weather better. Let me figure out how I can do that, right? There's always lessons to be learned. I think that's a really important thing that people need to be self-aware enough to consider. What could I have done better? After every setback, think about what could I have done better?
Well, the blame game doesn't help anybody. One of the things I tell my sons, 7 boys, 1 girl, they're always, it was him that did this, or it was him that did that. And I'm like, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, it's your fault. And even if it's not your fault, it's your fault. So if you own it and you take responsibility for it, and I do it all the time. I'll own something that I had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? But it just seems easier just to take the blame, take the responsibility, own it, and move on. You got to own those different things, even if it's not on you sometimes. But just being the bigger guy, having what I think America is missing a lot of today is integrity and doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Right.
You know, when nobody's paying attention, did you do the right thing or not? You know, it's one of the things that I also say to my boys very often.
Yeah, I mean, kids need to hear that for sure, and especially with customers. You know, the scenario you just mentioned, I think, is important with customers sometimes. Again, I don't agree 100% that the customer is always right, because sometimes they're not. But I think a lot of times you can quell those issues pretty quickly with oh, you know what, Mrs. Jones, I understand exactly what you said. Yeah, we probably could have handled that differently. Here's how I'm going to make it right. Even though, your team did everything you could have possibly done, that simple thing, you didn't necessarily admit something wrong or whatever, but you're just trying to quell the situation, you're taking care of, and that completely disarms someone. Even if someone's super mad about something, when you have that type of approach, man, the difference in their response, instead of you going, yeah, well, that's because your dogs were running around and we couldn't get the job done. Well, now all of a sudden now she's on her haunches and she's come back at you, right? And it just gets nowhere fast.
Absolutely. You know, you got to remember, or try to remember, who the professional is here. You know, I do this every day. I experience this every day. I've seen 100 people last year that act just like you do. How did I handle it? You know what I mean? If you think about it that way, I mean, they have one go-to defense mechanism, you know, or it's just the same old thing. Hey, you're asking for an order. Other than price or payment, is there any reason we can't do business today? Right. Oh, my dog's sick and I got to take it to the hospital. Well, other than that, is there any other reason we can't do business today? You know, that was their one defense mechanism. Oh, that'll throw the salesman off and he'll never, he's got to leave after that, but if you learn how to overcome that, I do it every day, all day long. They have that one defense. I've heard them all. So,
oh, sure. Yeah.
If we take a step back and remember who the professional is here, I think that takes you to another level of thinking, and you should be more successful based on that, because a lot of times we forget that.
And I think a key to that is listening.
Exactly.
Right? As being a good active listener, and not listening to respond, but listening to learn. Big difference there.
Well, the old guys that I learned from were very wise, and they told me God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Yeah. Use them in proportion. You know, if this was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
I say that all the time. Yeah, 100%. If it were easy, everyone would. If it was easy to be worth $10 million, everyone would be worth $10 million. If it was easy to fill in the blank, whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to do, everyone would do it. And it wouldn't mean as much to you, and you probably wouldn't even have it as a goal. So that's what makes it special a lot of times.
We just basically got to look at ourselves, evaluate ourselves, find a little niche for ourselves. I don't discourage college for my sons. I think it's always good for them to be educated. They're all homeschooled, but one of my sons wants to go to class, learn how to be a professional guitar maker. My oldest, and I think that's awesome. Yeah. One of my kids loves building go-karts and race cars and stuff. And he actually works at a buddy of mine's shop, and he's only 15. He's working at a shop where they do high professional modifications on cars. So I totally am, and in with that, I totally encourage them to do stuff like that, because these other odd things that you can find are probably going to be your life. It's going to make you happy to be doing your life. Yeah. I absolutely agree. Well, Jeff, we're out of time here, but it's been great having you on. I appreciate you sharing your story, sharing how you've been able to overcome so many things. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for having me, Ken. I had a good time. It was good seeing you. Yeah. Good seeing you too, man. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king. To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms, or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com.
If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.